Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. The Canadiens get a huge win here. As I was saying in the last video, this is a big game for the Canadiens and they get the huge win. They get the 6-2 regulation win against the Washington Capitals here. And again, I can't stress this enough how big of a game that was, how big of a win that is for the Canadiens. And obviously, it doesn't really look like it, from all perspectives. Obviously, the Canadiens sitting in a playoff spot, they're pretty comfortable in that position, but the Capitals were a team that were right on the edge of, being in that wild card position there and potentially kicking the Canadiens out of the playoff spot entirely. So we get some really nice separation here. And not only that, but with a regulation loss for Detroit as well, the Canadiens jump up to third in the Atlantic Division here. So we're definitely staying in that mix for top three. Obviously, Buffalo, it doesn't look like they're ever going to lose again for the rest of the season, which is ridiculous. I mean, good for Buffalo, obviously. It's really fun to see, them have success and all that stuff, considering the fact that they haven't made the playoffs in God knows how long, since 2012, 2011 or something like that. So it's really good to see them have success, obviously, but really good to see the Canadiens. And actually, now that I've looked at it, the Buffalo Sabres are actually in third place in the Atlantic, and we have jumped up. But that's because, okay, never mind. never mind. The Sabres game is just ending now, so we will be in third place in the Atlantic with Buffalo getting the win over Tampa Bay there. But even still, definitely continuing to be in that contention for the top three Atlantic spot. That's where we want to be. That's where we want to be sitting here. It's an upgrade over last year. Hopefully, it'll get us a pretty solid playoff matchup here. It might end up being the Sabres, depending on how they finish the season, how Tampa finishes the season, whoever it may be. But either way, it's a huge win tonight to really stay in contention for those points, to stay in that playoff spot. That's exactly where we want to be moving in here. So, a great game here. Breaking down kind of the goal scorers here. Cole Caulfield, 30 seconds into the game, he found a way to show up on Saturday night once again. He is just absolutely incredible on Saturday night. He gets it done. He does whatever he needs to do, and he's in the defensive zone. He gets up on the defenseman there for Washington, blocks a shot. He's in on a breakaway, and it's pretty impressive, his shot and his release and all that kind of stuff. But he knows exactly where he wants to go with that shot before he even gets into the offensive zone there, and he picks his spot, puts it in, and absolutely impressive. And obviously 30 seconds in to set the tone right away by scoring on that breakaway. That all starts with a defensive play, and obviously Cole Caulfield is not necessarily known as a defensive player, so for him to be able to make a play like that and then take it all the way down the ice and score, that really sets the tone. And obviously his 34th goal of the season here. He's continuing to have a great year. I can't exactly remember how many goals he had last season, but he's definitely nearing a career high again in goals, so he continues to impress, and he's doing really, really well there. And obviously he scores another one later on, but in between that, Alex Ovechkin in what might be his last game in the Bell Center, so kind of an interesting tidbit there. They were mentioning that on the broadcast quite frequently in this one, but it's definitely true. I mean, depending on whether or not Ovechkin wants to continue playing, and part of me thinks that he will never retire, because obviously he scored 2 goals tonight, and he's nearing 40 years old, so it's hard to say that he's slowing down all that much, but it'll be interesting to see what happens as things go along here. But he does get the goal there. It's just one of those things. Both of the goals that Ovechkin scored in this game, I felt like it was really just a product of our defenseman just being mesmerized by what was going on around the play there and not being able to pick up the guy. Both the times that Ovechkin scored, he was able to just kind of get a free ride into the front of the net area and tap home a goal there. So nobody's covering guys out front, and that's definitely something we need to be working on moving forward, is getting body position on guys and making sure that they can't just break into the zone and score goals like that. So definitely a little bit frustrating there, but overall I felt like defensively, offensively, we played a pretty solid game here. Definitely 60 minutes performance in my opinion. I feel like there was really no point in the game where the Washington Capitals felt like they were really in control of it. So I think that was definitely satisfying for the Canadiens to kind of be in control of the whole game there and really take it to Washington, who's had their number for sure in this season. So again, a really good performance there. Obviously, as I mentioned, Cole Caulfield gets the 2-1 lead back in there. He gets his 35th of the season. a nice play by Suzuki, or kind of in the kind of a power play situation, but kind of like, what a power play would look like there. Like a lot of times we see Cole Caulfield on the other side of the net there, getting a cross ice pass, cross crease pass there. But what really happens is, I think it was Bolduc or somebody gets in and forechecks really well, and intercepts the kind of clearing attempt from the goaltender there for Washington, and he's able to get that up back to Jaden Struble. And Jaden Struble, just, I really like the play. Like, you get the puck up to the point there, we get a shot on net, and then we go to work down low. Suzuki's able to chop this one across and finds Cole Caulfield on the other side. He's able to kind of use his quick hands to sweep that one in on the back door. And that's his second goal of the night, and second goal for the Canadiens in that one. So obviously Suzuki getting his 48th assist of the season there, and Jaden Struble his 9th assist on the season there. So yeah, definitely really good work. I feel like it's just simple hockey, right? Like getting pucks up to the point, getting shots on the net, and then finding a way to kind of jam home at it, and we did that really well there. So I think the more that we can do that moving forward, the better we'll be. I feel like this game, there's definitely another example of how the Canadiens just shoot the puck way less than they really should. They're passing way too often here. It's like every chance they get, it's like, we got to make one more pass, we got to make it a little bit fancier. And I just like, the more that we can just get pucks to the net and try to find a way to jam home at the goaltender. Like, it doesn't always have to be pretty, we just got to find a way to get pucks to the net. So but yeah, like, definitely a great goal there. Obviously, Cole Caulfield getting his 35th, only 5 away from his first ever 40-goal season. And, there's enough games here where he can get 15 and, shoot for 50 here. So we'll be interested to see what happens there. But, 35 at this point of the season for Cole Caulfield is definitely impressive, and definitely where we want him to be right now. And then Mike Matheson doubles down on that. He gets the 3-1 lead there. It's the 6th goal of the season. Zach Bolduc and Newhook getting their 14th and 8th assist of the season there. And a really great play all the way around. And it's really, I think this play that Mike Matheson scores on is really just showcasing why having Alex Newhook in our lineup and driving the play is so important. And it's definitely something we've been missing all season long here. He's just using his wheels. He's definitely, in my opinion, the fastest guy on our roster. He moves his feet so well and just gets going. He just drives the defenseman all the way back into their own zone. Makes a really nice outlet pass to Bolduc, who finds Matheson kind of driving in as like the fourth man there, and he just gets to walk straight on in, goes forehand, backhand, and kind of tucks it into the glove side there on Lindgren. So definitely a great play, but I think Newhook is really the main driver behind that one, and I think having his speed in the game there is something we've definitely been missing recently. And then Kirby Dach, a really, really nice shot from Kirby Dach here. He gets his 8th goal of the season there. Suzuki, driving down the play on the right side here. He kind of makes he almost did a little Lane Hudson shimmy move. Not really, but, he comes in on that right side and then makes a nice kind of, back pass towards the slot for Kirby Dach. And he just absolutely laser beams a one-timer into the back of the net there. Probably the best shot I've ever seen Kirby Dach take in his career. I feel like most goals that Dach scores are, tap-ins, or if he's like, going to the net and making nice hands plays or whatever, but he just unloaded a one-timer there, and it was really nice to see that. I feel like anytime Kirby Dach is getting on the score sheet and doing effective things there, it's definitely, something that we're excited about, and I feel like that was just another showcase of that, of what Kirby Dach can do when he's healthy and when he's feeling himself and all that kind of stuff. So, and I feel like that line in general had a really nice night too. I feel like obviously Suzuki, Dach, and Caulfield all scored in this one, so I feel like that was one of the better nights for that group there. It's been interesting to see how that progresses as we go along into the end of the season here. But again, just a really, really nice rip from Kirby Dach there to get that 4-1 lead. Suzuki gets his 49th assist on that one, so he's nearing in on that 50 assist mark, which is really impressive. But yeah, like a really nice play, and that pretty much puts the game away. Again, Ovechkin, kind of the same play as before. He kind of sneaks in, past our defenseman. We got to be a little bit better at picking up guys going to the front of the net and clearing the front of our net a little bit. But oh well, he scores a goal to make it 4-2. But then 2 empty net goals kind of really seals the deal. Nick Suzuki makes a really nice kind of backhand play. He's got Alex Ovechkin all over him in the offensive zone, but he kind of just does a nice kind of backhand backhand sweep at it, and it just kind of sneaks right past Ovechkin, right past the defenseman, and goes into the back of the net. They get 5-2, and then Jake Evans has a absolute monster of a shift. Maybe, in some ways the best goal of the night. He makes, some block shots, some great defensive plays on the penalty kill to the end of the game. Then he finally gets a chance at the puck and he shoots it all the way down the ice into the empty net. So a really nice play there. Both of those empty net goals unassisted, but just really solid efforts from both of those guys to ice this game here. Obviously Jake Evans, it's not lost on anybody how effective he is on the penalty kill in the defensive situations. And also he's very effective shorthanded, getting those goals there. Obviously this one being, empty net, but either way, I think like that's Jake Evans is always kind of showing us in one way or another how effective he is in those short man situations, those defensive situations, and it was good to see him get rewarded with a goal there as well. So again, yeah, the 6-2 win, like a really great game for the Canadiens that puts them, in a solid spot, third in the Atlantic Division. So you can't complain too much about that. We're staying in that conversation. The biggest thing right now is that teams like Buffalo, Tampa, Detroit lost and Boston, is doing well too. But every Atlantic Division team is just going to keep winning games. It's not going to get any easier for the Canadiens to, to find a way in this one. They're going to have to, continue to win games if they want to make the playoffs. Obviously, it looks pretty solid that the Canadiens will make the playoffs this season, but there's still plenty of games left in the season. We've got, 23 games left in the season after today. So we need to continue to find ways to win and be competitive here. And, it starts, just taking one game at a time and, continue to find a way to fight and get those points, whether it's a win or an overtime loss, whatever. We need to continue to be competitive going down the stretch because teams around us are not losing right now. So we got to continue to fight here. But yeah, we get a couple days off here, and then on Tuesday we're gonna be heading down south to to California. There we're gonna be playing the San Jose Sharks, 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, which is kind of a tough night for us. But I know 10 p.m. in Montreal time for anybody watching from Montreal. But either way, it'll be a couple of days rest, which is good. And then the Sharks are a really solid team. Obviously, Hudson and Celebrini will get reunited and see who's the top dog there from Boston University. But that'll be a great game and another opportunity to showcase, how well this Canadiens team has been playing, and another opportunity against a team who isn't currently in a playoff position to try to find a way to get some more points here. So that is pretty much all I have for this one. The one thing I did want to mention as well is a little bit of the goaltending controversy that's been going on here. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in and kind of give a little bit of defense to Samuel Montembeault. I feel like a lot of people online are really giving it to Montembeault. They've been doing it all season, and I just wanted to come in and say, I feel like, especially in the last game, I feel like, maybe there's 1 or 2 goals that you would have liked back a little bit, but I just feel like the hate that he's getting, despite the fact that he's playing solid hockey as of late, obviously he has not been good all season, especially early on in the season, he has not been good at all, but, I feel like he's really turned things around. He had a great night, in my opinion, the other day. That's what I said in the video from our last game here. Obviously, we didn't get the win, but I just feel like recently Montembeault has just been the punching bag for pretty much every mistake that we're making that turns into a loss. And I definitely understand that Montembeault is losing more games than Dobeš, and I wouldn't even argue you in saying that Dobeš is our number 1 goaltender at the moment, but I feel like Montembeault made some great saves. I mean, you can't blame him for every goal that goes in on that one, especially in that game. Every single one of those goals was either a short man opportunity or just a really nice play from the opposition, or it was a breakaway to win it in overtime there. So I feel like it's really difficult to pin Montembeault for that, and people seem to be finding it very easy to do so. So I just want to put my 2 cents in and be I feel like Montembeault, he definitely hasn't been great. I feel like, Dobeš is definitely our number 1 at this time. I feel like he's really getting it done in a way that Montembeault isn't. But, I just feel like he doesn't deserve a lot of the slack, the smack talk that he's been getting online. And I feel like going down the stretch, I feel like both of those guys are both capable. It'll be interesting to see what we do when playoffs come around, and whether or not we go with Dobesh as our starting guy, or if we go with Montembeau, or if we make a trade, for God's sake. I don't know. I mean, like, Binnington has been in the conversation for getting a trade over to Montreal. I don't think that will happen, but you never know. But I feel like when in doubt, you can trust Montembeau in those moments. I feel like he's been doing it over and over again for the last like 3 or 4 years that he's been here. And he's definitely not had an amazing year, but I also feel like it's kind of sad to see the amount of shit talk he's getting online about his play. So that's kind of what I wanted to say, and that's what I'll leave this episode with. I feel like we have two solid goaltenders. Obviously, things don't always go the way of the Canadians or the way of our starting goaltender, but I feel like I have faith in them personally to find a way to make things work down the stretch here. So that is all I have for this one. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you after a 2 points big win over the San Jose Sharks on Tuesday night.